Okay, today's the day. Light's perfect, everything's out, we're good to go. Maybe, just maybe, this will be one of the last coats we'll put on this work. So, excited to be here, excited to splash around some colour. Let's see how we go. I brought myself a little gift as well. After we're finished painting here, I've got 2 litres of creamy vanilla to eat. Ha 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 ha. It's just paint. Right. Blues and yellows, not because those are the 2 colours we're adding in, but they'll combine gently into a few more of the greens that we need to add. But I kind of feel it's the time for a spectrum of all the colours, and we'll just let them dance and change tones and hues as we just continue to go over the surface and see where we end up. That's the plan. That's the entire plan. And this gorgeous, gorgeous day. What more could you want? Perhaps a coffee. I've got one of those. Perhaps a pair of sunglasses. I'm wearing them. Maybe multiple options on paintbrushes. We have that too. So I ask you again, what else could we possibly want? Because by the sounds of it, we have everything we'd ever need. I suppose I could use something to make this little mic stay in place better, but that would be the only thing. Leaving black off the palette today though. Just going in with everything else. I had a teeny bit of gum arabic. I don't think that's too frisky. I think that's totally fine. There we go. And as we go on, you know what? We may add a little bit more. We'll see how we go. All right. First colours first. Combine that into a little bit of teal. And get a bit of a softer hue there. What I really need for this image is the most delicate. Woo, stay where you are. Just a little bit. There we are. All right, that's going to work just fine. Hello, Ryan. Welcome in. And where is your hydration? Honestly, there's a coffee here, but does that really count, guys? I'm told that a coffee is like terrible for hydration. So, arguably, I've brought dehydration with me. How do you feel about that? I shouldn't feel good about that. I should feel downright irresponsible. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say that I'm a dreamer. We're just going to gently, this is that lighter green, and so it fits perfectly. Just nestled into a few of these areas. That magenta's taken over, and that's okay, but actually we don't want it having full control. We need that green to actually be playing a role where it should be. The temptation, especially when you're doing nature, is to put green everywhere, and then in response you over project in another direction and put red and pinks and purples everywhere. And so the key is to strike that balance. But if you had to fall on one side of the balance, may I suggest go for the unorthodox wild side, because there's always something new to capture in that, I find. Something special to be found. There we go. Just going to dabble that down through there. Gorgeous. Now, the one other thing this will need, which will change the colours ever so slightly, is going to be the finishing coat, the varnish that goes onto it. And I think it'll get, just judging by the way the paint's landed, a satin varnish. So it won't be matte. Matte will pull. Matte and gloss are okay, but this isn't the sort of one for a full commitment to shine or to flat. It wants to probably be that nice, smoother, hybrid satin finish. Welcome on in, Crystal. Good having you here. And what was that there? Tamara. Welcome in, Tamara. Hello, my favourite painter online. I love everything you say and do, especially your art. Cheers, Tamara. I appreciate that. Everything I say and do. Look, I think there's some things I say and do that can be quite questionable. I reckon even if I had to go back and watch some of the videos from last year or the year before, I'd probably think to myself, oh, we've changed that philosophy. Oh, we don't think like that anymore. But I think that's okay. I think one of the things is, I feel like in 2024, one of the big things we do is we say, you know, figure out your opinion and then lock it in indefinitely. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to grow and alter your opinions, but we're just so quick to really give people a hard time when they want to swap their opinions. We want them to declare that they're wrong in a way, to get that satisfaction of someone yielding to our intelligence or will. But actually, it should just be okay to say, nah, I've looked at the same set of information with a different frame of mind, and I feel this way now. That should be celebrated. I feel like that takes more strength. But I'm talking more about in life at the moment, but with art, almost certainly. I think sometimes with these artist canvases, I splay too far in one direction. I overcommit to the wild side of a canvas and never bring in that succulent detail. And obviously that's a mistake. If you really want to take a canvas far, you have to both embellish it with the wild, chaotic strokes, but then hold space for the smaller, more subtle areas, because that lets a painting play on multiple dimensions, rather than just look at this is chaos. It needs to be, look at this, there's chaos, but there's simplicity, and there's beauty, and there's complexity, and there's definition. It wants to share all those things simultaneously. And I think the human condition is that we do try and over accentuate on one or two of them, because it feels good to get one KPI and charge on one KPI, sacrificing everything around it for the sake of it. It's like that book or movie about the AI that got built, the factory for paperclips. And the AI was told, build the most efficient factory for paperclips to make as many paperclips as you possibly can, and do anything you can to do it. And it basically colonizes, takes over the whole galaxy, solar system, universe. turning everything it can, purging it into paper clips. It's a lovely field to walk in. That's a great idea. And the lesson to be learnt there is we go, ha 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 ha, robots are so silly, making paper clips. Do you see how actually it's not just an example about AI running rampant? It's also an example about humans. We, in our own figurative way, become factories for paper clips. We get so caught up on a single idea and pursue it with reckless abandon and think that nothing else matters, that in turn we sacrifice what actually does matter. And a painting is no exception to that. A painting is arguably the most likely to experience that. If you're sharing your feelings, what do you think the chances are that you over-exaggerate certain feelings and forget about other ones in your pursuit of what you think is correct? Or you can really lose some important things on a canvas by doing that. So, powerful energy, relaxed energy, powerful strokes, smaller subtle strokes. It needs all the things if the canvas is really going to come into fruition. Welcome on in, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Wherever you are on this big rotating earth today. And that's the fun thing about Alive. You could literally be anywhere. You could be 3 doors down from my current position, or you could literally be in the middle of nowhere. In Tasmania, Madagascar, all over this world. And yet, through a device in your hand, a device commonly known as a phone, you're able to be here in this space with me. I think that's pretty special. I think that's the best of things. There we go. Let's get a bit more grey into this. Lime, tasty, tasty lime. Where do we go next? Honestly, I think a bunch more ultramarine blue, just like this. We're gonna leap into a few of these little pockets down here, just like this. Just expanding those areas. Do 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 do. And welcome on in, Eric. Welcome on in. There we go. Gorgeous. We do a little bit over the top here. Seb, how and slash do you follow any international art festivals? Look, each to their own, and I know some artists love those things. I haven't gone overseas to participate in a festival before. I am though, funny story, I am taking part in one in New Zealand here in March. So we'll see how that goes. But there are a lot of them that go around. And if that's your cup of tea, go for gold. But the one thing I'd say is the most important thing. Don't just do it because you think you should, because everyone else is doing it. Do it because it feels right for you personally. That's the most compelling, important reason to do something. And so when you're wondering as an artist or a creative of any kind, if you should go along to a show, you know, all this sort of stuff, look at it through the lens of what's right for me, not someone else did it and that makes me feel like I should do it. And if you evaluate everything like that, it's not guaranteed, but it's more likely that you'll stay true to your own form. Because you are, in your own way, a very, very unique brew. Sometimes you feel like you're a replication or a projection of everyone else. In some cases, maybe in some parts. But in your entirety, you're unique. And so you need to realize that fundamentally, especially as a creative, to make sure when you make decisions, you make them taking into account that you're a unique individual. That you might have your own thoughts, feelings, and desires. And maybe certain things that everyone else does don't fit into your repertoire of who you want to be. And that's okay. But I can't tell you what to or not to do, because in this current moment, while I'm painting here in the middle of a field, I've got no idea what's right for you. Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate that. Let's get a bit more of this one. A bit more of this one. Right in there close, team. Love the colours in this one. Hello there, by the way. Hey, Justin, welcome on in. Aquamarine blue for the win. Tell me about it. I think, and this is my own fault here, Ryan, because I say aqua a lot, because it sounds watery. Ocean in Latin is marine. Aqua, I think that's Spanish for water. So we're saying water ocean, essentially. it should actually be ultramarine. Ultra in Latin meaning beyond, so it's beyond ocean. The most beautiful blue colour that when they invented it, or found it I should say, it was beyond blue. But I do like the idea of saying aquamarine, which is like blue blue. Super blue blue. In fact, I would actually prefer that be the name of it. I reckon if you're going to call it ocean ocean or water ocean, you should call it super water ocean. How is any other blue going to compare? Oh, you've got cerulean? I've got super water ocean. No one's having to explain Latin then. Everyone knows that that's definitely the most oceany colour, for sure. Hello, David Black Bunny. Welcome on in. Didn't you say yesterday you were leaving the painting as is? Look, I also said yesterday I was cutting back on coffee, and yet here I am with a delicious cup of short black. So what I would say is take everything I say with a grain of salt. I could just be outright lying to you. Not intentionally, but now, in hindsight, that would turn out to be a lie. What do you call that? I don't think you call it a lie. I think that turned out to be wrong if you've been honest when you said it. That's fair, right? But then comes the age-old question, do you want to be known as an idiot or a liar? Because I'm now one of the two. No, creative process isn't linear, guys. And every time you touch a painting, it changes the landscape of the painting. And so, even though you say, I think it's done, it requires time away from it to then reevaluate it to actually finalise that decision. I call it like a 72-hour stand-down period. And honestly, every time you do a stand-down period, you'll notice little things. I want more of this. I want more of that. There's little pockets that I feel like need exacerbating. Swap down to a slightly smaller brush. So, honestly, if I'm giving you full disclosure, I think we're getting really close. But we're not there yet. Amy Winehouse. Tragically, Amy Winehouse is no longer with us, but I can only assume that you're speaking on behalf of Amy Winehouse's estate, in which case, welcome on in. Lovely to have you here. Ti amo, John. Welcome in too. Those are some cool sunglasses. They're Ray-Bans. Ray-Bans. And I'm trying my very best not to lose them. But look, my track record's not good. And by not good, I mean I've pretty much lost every pair of sunglasses I've ever had. So let's see if I continue on that trend or if I can sort myself out. We really don't know at this stage. I'm alive. Do you mean that as in you're making the claim that Amy Winehouse is now alive? Rest in peace. Or do you mean that in terms of this current environment with the air, with the sound of the crickets, with the artwork, is making you feel figuratively and literally alive in this moment? If that's the case, I'm excited for you. Well, I'm actually excited on both those fronts. One of them would be awfully more bizarre. I'll let you choose which one that is, but there we go. Imagine all the people living for today. Yeah, yeah. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Some sweet day, yeah, you'll find us exactly where I want it. This is the most gorgeous color. It's like a tealy turquoise, and it just pops in all the right ways. You get this into just the right spot. You start curling the brush as you paint with it, and it leaves behind the most beautiful yet subtle markings on the surface of the painting. There we go. Lovely. Just streamline that through there. There's these very subtle mountains to the left of Sugarloaf. This mountain here is called Sugarloaf. Very subtle ones in the background here, and I think we've done a good job in not over accentuating them, just gently leaving a reminder that there's something there that's not sky. And that's the same thing you get from the photo. In the photo, it's quite obviously a mountain range, but only because the photo gives facts. We're here giving the feeling, and there's just a subtle change there, probably given mainly by that olive green, just dove it across the top, that just softens and builds this extra little layer of landscape. Even more ambiguous over this side, sloping on the right-hand side away from Sugarloaf, but just a bit of fun. The other thing that's happening right now is we're not splicing this paint with any whites or any blacks. So everything we're putting on it, yes, LJ, hello, welcome on in. And beautiful painting space, brother. Thanks, Kay, I appreciate that. South Island of New Zealand? No, but we will be down there soon enough painting. Not right now, but one day soon. It will happen. Ecuador, welcome in. That's all fantastic. I'm super glad the stream's in good quality today. We've taken some leaps and bounds in our reception, which is the best combination of Fanta and a stick. If you're wondering what I mean by that, Fanta stick. Cringe. Okay, a bit more of this. Let's get this down. There we go. We'll just get you beading down through some of these parts. Just little touch points. Raw pigmentation. And this pigment here is thicker than regular pigment. So we're using an absolutely loaded brush, which will mean the colors that we add have this just potency to them. Because one of the things about this site here, the Valley and of Sugarloaf, is the intensity of the colors. Not in terms of the colors we use. We haven't used like extreme oranges and reds and greens and blues. But the saturation in the colors we have used, that's giving the dad joke. But I'm allowed to now, LJ. That's the story of my life. It's your actual birthday today. Happy birthday. And Peter Ben. Is that name inspired even in Slight by Peter Pan? Or is that a microaggression and you get that all the time? And in which case, I am sorry. I was watching a YouTube video about what microaggressions are. And I've since been trying to get the hang of them. But you have to take your time with me. Not because of any other reason other than I'm a silly Billy. And I do my best. It takes me a disproportionate amount of time to be coached about how to put the right glassware, how to put the things in the dishwasher rather than just on top of them or on the side. And so it's taken an equally disproportionate amount of time to figure out how things like these new things, not new things, but these newly discovered things like microaggressions work. And all I can say is I'm doing my very best. There we go. Gorgeous. That's Sugarloaf. Gorgeous. And a bit more of that grey through here. A bit more of that grey through here, stroking up the sides of these mountains. Abundant colour. Gonna sneak down in here with a few more little spots. There we go. Gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. I'm just gonna spread that through the parts there. Swap the plate over now. Gotta be careful, so this plate here has got a little bit mucky, and it starts to blend together into the same porridgey, grey tone. Now that's a natural growth or progression of a plate, but when it gets too close to that, well, swap the plate out or the palette, and because you don't just want those muted tones, which effectively is what happens when all your pigments mix. You want to make sure you're constantly getting the fun, poppy, separate colours. So, back to the palette. Hello, Miss Print. Welcome in. And who else do we have here? Mothy, Miss Deuteronofu. Lots of names. If I miss comments, guys, I'm so sorry. I do my best to keep up, but call me a bit slow. And just as anticipated, we've been incredibly lucky. Jay, welcome in, Jay. What a day for it, by the way. You'll have to tolerate me if I'm a wee bit slow. But luckily, and it did say it in the weather report, that the sky would stay cloudy, and so we could perch ourselves in the middle of a field like we've done and enjoy basically abundantly beautiful weather. We did take a risk though, because we could be right here, then all of a sudden the strength of what we're dealing with is just tearing down. There we go. Just across that hill there a little bit, and then dabbling down in this valley. The key here is not to overdo it. It's just subtle touches. There we go. We're going to sneak across. There we go. Absolutely stunning. A bit more. There's that tree just there, which we're going to sneak down. There we go. Lovely. If you weren't doing a commission, commissions, what would paint as a heart song if there's a piece like that? What do you want to be remembered by? I think there's a lot of beautiful art out there in the world, and I personally don't feel like commissions are any different from originals in that you should take commissions you're truly passionate about, otherwise you're lying to the customer, because the customer thinks they're purchasing art, commissioned art, and if you're selling them commissioned craft that doesn't have that art flair behind it, you've falsified a product. And so commissions are, as long as you're doing them right and taking the right ones, they are true art. And if I had full power, endless buckets, millions of dollars of cash, I would still talk to people and do artwork on a commission basis. But I wouldn't, for example, the difference would be if I had $100 million, I wouldn't do artwork. I would be able to do artwork for everyone rather than people who could afford commissions, you see. So that wouldn't change me at all, but that would change who had access to the product, simply from a money point of view. So no, I don't think commissions are any different from what would truly come out of my heart song. I think that's fair. In my heart song. That was your definition, not mine, but I like it. Interesting thought bubble though, and a good question to ask yourself for any creative. If you had endless money, and I think this isn't a Seb original thought, this is an Alan Watts thought. Alan Watts actually says, if you had, he'd ask his students, he's a philosophy teacher, he'd ask his students and say, if you had endless money, what would you do? And people say all sorts of things. I'd get a boat, I'd have a house, I'd do this, I'd do this. But then it really boils down to, once you've done all those silly, extravagant things that you think you want, it boils down to what would you actually do with your time? And when you ask yourself that question, suddenly a lot of people would say, I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. It's a wonder that I get paid for it. And that's depending on what you're doing. That could be the most freeing answer to give. And then some people might say, anything but what I'm doing right now, anything else. I'll do literally anything else. And that's an interesting conundrum, because it would be terrible to find yourself doing something that didn't really pluck the chords of your heart. And before I was a painter, I used to work in the hospitality industry. I was working for a New Zealand franchise, a family restaurant. And I'll be honest with you, parts of it did make me incredibly happy. And when we say follow your dreams, we always think about it being like art or dance and things like this. It doesn't have to be. It can be far more simple. Your dreams could be a family. Your dreams could be a place, a state of mind. You can pursue dreams without needing an exact job. But ask yourself, what would that dream be if you had unlimited money? If I had unlimited money, I still wouldn't want to work at that family restaurant. The only thing that would have changed, this is really interesting, the only thing that would have changed is I would have had more fun, because suddenly I would know that I had the freedom not to be there. And I think the same goes, if you think about that example, it's the best example. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, when he's like, and then Lieutenant Dan called me, said we don't have to worry about money no more. And I said, that's great. One less thing to worry about. Anyway, those people down at the local park, I mowed them lawns for free. See, mowing the lawns was because he wanted to, not because it had anything to ever do with making money. And I guess this all comes back to art's raw expression. Raw expression. And so you got to ask yourself, how am I going to make sure that every painting is because I deeply, deeply want to, and not because I have to. If you cross that line into have to, the art will die. Maybe not on the day, but it will. Sadly, it'll pass. And so, it's that age-old story. Do you make art to make money? Or do you make money to make art? You have to be on the latter. Such that if I did give you $100 million, if I gave a creative or an artist $100 million on the spot. Love the Cypress, is so relaxing. Thanks, Mario. And artists is free to create. Look, so nice and peaceful. Yes, 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 yes. What an amazingness did I pop into. Well, welcome on in. Sorry, getting caught back up in what I was saying there. make art to make money or make money to make art. If I gave you $100 million, if I gave any creative $100 million on the spot, would you suddenly say, thank God, I never need to make art again or be creative again? Or would you say, like Forrest Gump, that's fantastic, now I can make art? Because if you're on the latter, your psychology's in the right place and it has to stay there. Now, I know that's a very rich position to talk about because you're saying, well, no one's giving artists hundreds of millions of dollars, so what now, Seb? Well, as long as you understand the ecosystem in which that little psychological experiment makes sense, then even if you are selling your art for money to stay alive and put bread on the table and keep a roof over your head, you can keep coming back to yourself, coming back to that experiment, and asking yourself that and making sure you're still on the right side of it and taking action as soon as you start to waver. Because art has to be made because you deeply, deeply love it and deeply want the art to exist. But the moment you do commissions because you think it's going to be financially viable and you'll paint another puppy or you'll paint another landscape or you'll do something for someone, like I say, you've sold a dishonest product because the person buying it thought they were getting art and you didn't put soul behind it. Put soul behind it, otherwise you're lying to a collector. And yeah. That doesn't mean it drains you. It doesn't drain your soul. It's not like how people talk about sometimes cameras capturing your soul and things. It won't drain your soul to make a piece of artwork full of soul and give it to someone. But it could be something, like with the classic tortured artist psychology. It could be something that actually grows your soul. Could be something that actually makes you more. Why would it have to not be? Painting can be kind of like a milestone and actually show a stage in the mindset or life of an artist. And the reason why that's beautiful is not because artists are heroes or they know something the rest of the people don't, but because if an artist is really an artist, they can capture a moment that more than one person feels. And I think the reason, for example, that Van Gogh's work is beautiful is not because he's such a master at painting, we should all look at that and try and understand why he's so great, but because in his artwork, for a brief moment, we also feel the existential terror of the human condition and the beauty in the world around us and the colours we see and the composition and the shapes. And for a brief moment inside his works, we feel exactly what he felt and just for a brief moment enjoy it. And that's the beauty of it. And so when we say art should be a lonely thing or art should be tortured, all that matters is did the artist actually connect? Do we actually feel exactly what the artist felt when we look at this piece? And if the answer is yes, well, now we're talking about great art. It's all that matters. And that's why I love the simplicity of Van Gogh's and Monet's work. They're so simple, all the pictures, because it's not about a giant, complex, wild image. What it's about is finding common ground to connect on, because I believe art can't exist in a vacuum. If there's a universe out there with a giant canvas on a planet, painted beautifully, but no one ever saw it, philosophically, I don't believe it's art. I believe that true art comes from the creator and the viewer sharing a connection through space and time by feeling synonymous feelings through the node that is visual art. And that's why Van Gogh's story is so tragic, in that he never saw the viewer before he died. He just created, and made all the art so that, like I say, through space and time, he was then able to connect. And it breaks your heart a little bit, because I wonder if he even knew that, or if he was just hell-bent on creating. Anyway, wonder. But when Van Gogh was alive, no one liked his artwork. And so if you're down at the farmer's market, or on social media, or out there in some smaller gallery in an obscure location, and you see something you love, don't be shy. Trust your taste and bring it into your life, because you don't know. I'm not saying that you're purchasing the next Van Gogh. That's not what it's about. But you may be feeling the same feelings that the artist felt when they made it. And that's the beauty, and that's the value in the human condition. That's how I feel. You come up here. Hello, Joe. Welcome on in, Joe. Existential terror is my new motto. You might like the artwork, The Scream. It's an expressionist piece. Expressionism means you just warp the reality of the image to actually be augmented by the feelings you actually have. You could argue that all work is a form of expressionism, and you wouldn't be wrong. But in the case of The Scream, the whole feeling of it's warped out of proportion to share the feeling of existential dread in this person's one moment of experiencing and probably simultaneously understanding the human condition. Simple picture, very simple, very effective. I love Lana, that's fantastic, thank you so much. And Janice, welcome on in. I feel art can cure depression in a way. Look, yes and no. Good art can cure depression, bad art can cause it. And that's the same thing. Are you making art to make money, or are you making money to make art? Expression in all its forms, whether it be dance, singing, music, woodwork, whatever it might be, this stuff, of course, cure is a strong word, but assist, help with symptoms of different kinds. So the next question would be, how are you going about your craft? Because simultaneously dancing, singing, woodworking, spending times with friends, it's funny. They can simultaneously be the most vitalizing things and the most draining, demoralizing things. So the question is, how do you, or which side of the fence is it currently falling to for you? Almost is the aurora in your painting. That's amazing. It's not actually an aurora as such, but it's actually the perfect tones at the top of the mountain, and through it you can actually see the canvas, the different layers. And so I'm quite taken by it, and I kind of like how it blends into that Keystone State Sugarloaf. It's beautiful. I'm a big fan of it. I've just been dancing around it a little bit, but I honestly really like it. Really, really like it. And if I staring at the where the fun ain't got no ends. Little spots. Who else do we have in here? Do. go. Perfect. Hello, little bear. Welcome on in. I was just going to say as well, guys, I've got to meet with a fantastic individual in about 30 minutes. So we got a bit more time. But I've got a meeting with a lovely, lovely gentleman about a commission, which, guys, it might get started this side of Christmas, but most likely, we'll start it in January. Because like I was saying, we've just got so caught up in Pennsylvania and enjoying it and taking this painting to different places, and it's just, it's going in a really, really fun direction. And we've just been enjoying that and heading on that little path. But I'd say our intentions will be to dive in headfirst into Hong Kong before Christmas and spend the rest of our time pondering January's projects. But I have got one last canvas that I want to play on with, some gouache. So watch this space. But long story short, as of today, the only thing that needs to happen is I might disappear in the next 10 to 15 minutes. There we go. Lots of yellow. Lots of yellow. Okay. Janice, have a great day. I hope your meeting goes well. I have to go, Seb. Have a good day, everyone. Cheers. Cheers, Janice. We'll catch you on the flip side. Pleasure having you in here. Thanks for joining. And with a bit of luck, we'll see you next time. Who's that there? Mads Olsen. Hey. Now can someone help me out here? Mads has used that emoji, which is that blue eye thing. And I've got no idea what that is. Pardon me. So am I... Because I thought it was like an Illuminati thing, but I keep seeing it everywhere. Is it just an eyeball? Is it a horoscope thing? What is it? That's the question. Wait. That's Amy, I'm confused. There's something to it though, there's something to it. You're gonna make me Google this, aren't you? I think everyone's just as confused as I am. What does the blue eye thing mean? I can't be alone in my confusion. I can't be. It has to actually be a thing. Who's that there? Bonjour, salut, welcome on in. And John, welcome on in. think in my top 10 favourite names, I think John actually makes it in. And one of the things is because I grew up with the song. It's by, I think, James Dean. I forget exactly who, but it's called Big John, and it's about a guy who, I'm not sure where the promised land is, but they crash and blow from a huge right hand, sent a Louisiana fella to the promised land. Big John. Anyway, he's a miner, and there's a catastrophe where the mine starts to collapse, but he's so strong that he holds up the beams of the mine so that all the other miners can escape. And then, tragically, it collapses on Big John. But the point is not that Big John passed, sadly. That the point of it is that John was big enough and strong enough to hold up the beam to save all the other miners. Big John. I've always found it so interesting that dresses like this while he paints. Yeah, the photographer. I've always found it interesting how a camera works, capturing light. So I guess we both have interests, which is something we have in common that I'm very excited about. So the shirt itself is a Mountain Warehouse special. And the reason why I like a shirt like this is because it's $10, but I feel formal in it. And that formality while you paint, you look the part, you act the part. I shouldn't say you look the part, you act the part. You look the part, so you feel the part, so you act the part. And you'd be like, I don't need to act the part. I'm an artist. I will show up in fat pants if I want to and paint like a slob. I can't speak for you, but I can speak for me. I have to absolutely dress the part if I want to paint the part. When I show up in fat pants, singlets, old worn clothes, you know, if you think, oh, I'll just use these because I can paint in these and, you know, it won't matter if I get paint on them. I paint like a slob. The paint goes everywhere. It doesn't land in the right places on the canvas. Why? Because as an artist, your craft needs to be sacred. And if I didn't treat it like it was sacred, if I didn't care, then the way I subconsciously use or paint, use the brush and apply the paint, it all just falls to bits. So, and the pants are from Kathmandu. Massive fan. Where are you located? What field are you in? I'm in a New Zealand field, located in New Zealand. And we'll be here for another 5 minutes. 5 minutes. A cheering crab. I'm gutted I missed that. That sounds funny. Here we go. But yeah. Now you can wear an apron, but I typically feel when I wear an apron, it feels like setting myself up for failure. It's like filling out an insurance claim for your car before you've even crashed it. And I feel like that's the wrong philosophy to take into it. If I'm getting paint on my shirts, don't wear an apron or put on cheaper shirts. Wear your fanciest outfit, your fanciest shirt, and challenge your mind to actually recode itself to think, okay, careful. Chaos here, but not here. Chaos here, then everywhere else can be controlled. That's the key. But as soon as I find myself getting slack with where the paint goes, that's the change I make. Put on your fanciest clothes. Christmas wombat. Again, gutted I missed it. But I have a fun fact for you about wombats. You ready? Wombats are the only animal in the animal kingdom that poop in squares. Caught it. That's a Christmas wombat. They poop in squares. Now this naturally brings about the question, why? Well, wombats are fiercely territorial and terrified of having their territories invaded on all the levels. And they typically live on slopes in trees. So what happens when your neighbour on a slope with you gets their, what's the correct word here? Excrement? Gets their, we'll call it number twos, and it rolled down into your back garden. You would be upset about that. You see, with wombats, this causes territory fights. So wombats have evolved to poop in squares. So when they poop on their slopes, it falls directly below their tree and doesn't roll into their neighbours' yards, therefore causing turf wars. That's how wombats developed to do square poops. The more you know. I visited New Zealand, Fiji and Australia back in 2022. It was great. I live in Santiago. Well, that is absolutely fantastic. How did it go? You've got about 30 seconds before I need to run off and do this meeting to give me the biggest highlight and the area that needs the most improvement. Now, we're a small country. I'll let everyone know. Oh, that's fun. That's my hat, guys. I feel bad though. I haven't even seen I haven't seen House of Dragon. So, but I have watched How to Train Your Dragon. You always feel like when you watch one of those shows that you'll be the one who's. I always feel like when you watch those shows, you're like, oh, my dragon would be toothless, but I get the feeling I'd probably have the one with the long neck and like the little funny boggle eyes. Would still love my dragon to bits, but I don't think I get that main character dragon. I don't think that's my life. Sounds like a lot of work too. I feel like everyone else in the storyline except for the guy with Toothless gets a pretty chill time. All right, guys, I need to dash inside for this meeting. Excuse me, a little bit of hay fever. We'll grab a tablet and go from there. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I'm going to spin this painting around so you can see it. Blues, a little bit more blues in the sky of different shades. That won't warp the sky, but, oh, excuse me. The moment you sniff, the hay fever gets 5 times worse. So let's spin this around a face just there. There we go. How's that? Perfect. I'll sort of balance it up there. There we go. Whoop. Okay. Excusez-moi. Okay, so let's have a little look-see here. And this little bit of pink here, it's so naughty that it's remained right above Sugarloaf Mountain here. And this is the valley. But at your distance there, when you see it, it kind of comes into context where you can actually see a landscape and understand there's a valley. It's reminiscent. It's reminiscent, very different colour palette, very different strokes, but it feels from a distance similar to 700 Springs Ranch, except the landscape that it is so wildly different. Whereas 700 Springs Ranch had a waterway through here, a river. Sugarloaf, this is a valley. This is a grass, quite short, and then these trees come in here. It's just, I love it. I love it. I'm biased though. I'm so heavily biased because I love Pennsylvania, but I've got to go back there. Anyway. Guys, for the sake of it almost being TMI, I do have to blow my nose because of the hay fever after that sniff there. And I'm going to dive into this meeting. Oh, sending love from New Zealand with this hay fever ridden artist. And wherever you are in the big old world today, I hope you're happy, hope you're healthy, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Cheers, guys. You're a bunch of champions, and thanks for being part of this space with me.